Okay, I'm here today with a friend of mine, Annie Baghdayan, right?
Right,
I,
right.
I I messed it up and I just asked you. That's okay. I knew I was going to do that. So
Uh-huh.
you are the director of the National Center for Disability Education and Training,
That is correct.
and that's based out of OU, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so um, I always start these with how we met, but honestly, I know I think we met at a conference sometime, but I can't tell you more than that. Although, do you present at partners?
I have not presented at
Okay,
partners.
okay. So then I would have met you at a conference for sure. So, um,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
I don't
please.
remember which conference. Yes, we met at a conference, and I think Sharon introduced me to you. Sharon House
Oh
Long,
yeah.
or introduced me to you. We were at a presentation about State Department of Education and some collaboration, I think, between all of those. Probably before then. We've kind of seen each other, but we haven't had any conversation. Um, as far as what do you do, where you're at, I think you've attended some conferences in the past. I speak at many conferences in Oklahoma and also outside Oklahoma. So when we work on similar goals and common field and common population, I think we should have all crossed path at some point. Absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely cross paths a lot. I've seen you at several conferences over the years, and just glad to know you. Now, you called me a couple weeks ago, and we were discussing a project that you've got. Before we do that, and we get into that, and I really do want to get into that. Tell me a little bit about the National Center for Disability Education and Training. What do you guys do?
Well, the National Center for Disability Education and Training is housed at the University of Oklahoma Outreach, and apparently it's been there since 1960s, which I have no affiliation at that point. I've been with NCDET for the last 6 years. This is my seventh year. And one of the things that we focus on is public community services, and it's under that department. It really has what happened in the National Center for Disability Education and Training. It's the projects evolved, but we've always focused on working in building capacity of providers, consultants, leadership, as far as whatever it has to take to work towards a common mission. Like I was saying, we want to have a better quality of life for individuals with disabilities. And if once I talk about all the programs that we have at NCDET, you'll see that all of our programs focus on promoting employment for individuals with disabilities, whether those are high school students, whether that is transition age or post-transition, or even individuals who are working in teaching people with disabilities how to work in the community. So we have currently we have four different funded projects. So we have federal grant, and we have three um, uh, contracts through the state. So I can walk you through each of those if it's something that we want to talk about, and then we can land on the project that you and I reconnected, and that is our newest. So I'll keep that at the end, and then from that point on we can actually continue talking about the pre-employment transition services that we have.
Sure.
So I mean, if one of the first projects, one of the projects that I would like to highlight is our federally funded project, and that will be the work incentives planning and assistance. And the University of Oklahoma, or Oklahoma, has one WIPA, and most people know WIPA. or a WIPA. They don't actually probably even know that it's affiliated, and it's a project at the National Center for Disability Education and Training, because we serve the entire state of Oklahoma. It's a program to enable beneficiaries with disabilities to receive accurate information and use that information to make successful transition to work. So each WIPA project in each state, there's usually one WIPA project, and based on the number of the beneficiaries that state serves, sometimes Social Security office will decide whether they want to have two WIPA projects or one WIPA project. So in the state of Oklahoma, it's one, and we utilize community work incentives coordinators, who are referred as CIWICs, and the CIWICs go through a certification program through Virginia Commonwealth University. This project is funded, I don't know if I mentioned, through the Social Security Office, and it started in 1999 as the Ticket to Work and Work Incentives Improvement Act. So we provide in-depth counseling and benefit analysis for people who are thinking about employment or already working, but they don't know how their employment or their paycheck, and they're on Social Security, SSI and SSDI. So they don't know how their income is going to impact their SSI and SSDI checks. So we have the CIWICs will take a call. Some people will get referrals through the Ticket to Work system, and they are real people work with us. So when they call the WIPA project, they will have an individual pick up the phone and talk to them rather than an automated system, and they will take each person's formula will be different, because based on how old are you, especially with transition age, students, how old are you, how long have you been working, how many months, how much have you made, and they'll do that analysis and tell the people that no, don't be, don't be afraid, because when we hear the word Social Security, a lot of people are intimidated that it was a lengthy process getting on SSI or SSDI, and they don't want to lose that. So they will assist them as far as understanding how that will impact their SSI and SSDI. Sometimes they're surprised that, oh, this is what we've been informed. So there's a lot of education and myth with that process, but truly they will take each case by case and work on every one of those. Currently we have 3 CIWICs that have been fully certified through VCU, and will provide that service. So this is our only federal funded project that we have. The rest of the projects that we have, which are 3 currently, they are funded through the Department of Rehabilitation Services in the state of Oklahoma DRS. We're very grateful for our partnership and the trust that we have gained from DRS. We won't be able to do what we do without their continuous support and contribution. One of the probably the oldest project is really working on building the capacity of employment consultants or job coaches that are out there. There's a certification program that we provide, and our certification program is accredited through APSI, National APSI and ACRE. And we have different instructors that some of the trainings are week-long, some of the trainings are 2 days, some of the trainings are half a day, but any agency that will provide services will have a contract with DRS to work as an employment consultant or job coaches. They have to complete our training. Once they finish the training, there's a certification of completion, and it usually we offer the same trainings twice a year one in Oklahoma City area and another one in Tulsa area. COVID had made that a little difficult this year, but we have converted all of our trainings into an online mode, and we have been offering it through Zoom. That has its challenges, but for the time being, I think we just had to be innovative and continue to provide the service, even though it's difficult as an instructor, it's difficult as a trainee to have that engagement and the learning experience compared to real class situation or traditional situation. But like I said, we've done the best that we could. We've offered it before the end of fiscal year. We're in the process of offering the second round. We started it in September, so September was a busy month for us. We'll kind of slow down in December and January and pick that back up in February. Hopefully, we are planning to do in-person smaller groups and spread out people, just because learning is different when people are working hands-on and have that immediate engagement with the instructor. We bring in sometimes outside presenters as far as the marketing piece. How do you market individuals with disabilities, and how do you find the right jobs for them? We're not only therapists, consultants, and educators and parents, but also we want to go to an employer and say, hey, this is what is your benefit. You just have to think about the advocacy piece and the marketing piece, especially for people who don't necessarily know what to do. And, oh, we've never hired a person with a disability, so we don't know what to do. So how do you sell? How do you market the skills and the abilities, rather than having people focus on the disability, for sure? So that's one of our contracts with DRS. The other one, we just celebrated, last year we celebrated 10 years, and that's Project Search. And Project Search, those who have heard, and sometimes Cody, I look at parents and how amazing impact that parents can have on the community. When I look at the Project Search and its history, one parent, made a huge difference. In Cincinnati Hospital said that I have a child with disability, and what's the future holding for my child? I don't know. What's the employment opportunities for my child? There's barely none, especially in 1990s. So 1996, around that time, Cincinnati Children's Hospital, said, okay, we can be an internship site and we can pilot this. And from 1996 until 2020, there are probably more than 250, 285 Project Search replicated programs around the world. Not only in United States, there's some in Australia, there's large group in United Kingdom. So the success of those students doing 10 weeks internship, because like any high schooler, most high schoolers are gonna come in and say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know where I want to go when I graduate. So, but individuals with no disabilities have the advantage of working and exploring some of those options from the time they are 16, sometimes younger, sometimes older. But for our students with disabilities, that's not always an option. With Project Search, students who finish all their course requirements in the schools or technology centers, they have to be enrolled either in a school or a technology center. They have 3 10-week rotations where they're trying different things. It's a non-paid internship, but at least it gives them the opportunity to learn the skills in the classroom and then go do hands-on. So we have the project search exists because of partnership, in addition to the funding that we get from DRS. We have amazing partners in the community, that being a hospital, that being a hospitality business, that's being whoever wants to give it a try. We have been a good partner with the Baptist Hospital. We've been a good partner with Mercy Hospital. So we, some of these things, Embassy Suite, we had Chesapeake used to do it, Renaissance, and all of these places that created that opportunity, gave us a room. All we need is a room, a teacher. The public schools provide the teachers or the technology center, and DRS provides the job coaches. Dale Rogers is involved in this process. So if I'm leaving anyone out, it's truly an amazing model for partnership. We have to put hand in hand together and create those opportunities. And it's amazing, the outcome. Once a year, we celebrate the successes of these students. Sometimes we bring in students who have been in the program 5-10 years ago, and they still have a job. They're probably still working in the same place. One of our earliest programs was in Tulsa, and last year, when we celebrated our 10th anniversary, we started this in 2008. So once we completed the 10 years, we celebrated it. And the same individual who actually went through the Tulsa Project Search program that we coordinated is still working in the same hospital. So happy. And bought a house, and they talk about their successes, and it's very promising, inspiring to parents and other individuals who see that as an unachievable goal. And that's what we want to promote. So that's Project Search, and currently we are in several school districts. Even though some schools are going in person or virtual, we were able to talk with all of our partner businesses, and they're letting our students go in person. They have a special mask, it says Project Search. We provide their scrubs if they're working in the hospital, but they are going in person, definitely respecting the CDC guidelines or the hospital's guideline or the school guideline when they go in person. But learning doesn't stop, employment doesn't stop. One of the most touching examples to me from our Project Search is when we had a family that never even in million years thought that their son, who is a little bit more of the severe, profound range of a disability, will ever have a job. And that individual completed our Project Search rotation, and the business that he was interning at, they offered him a position. And he and his parents were literally in tears, and it was very touching because that gave that young gentleman a reason to wake up every day. I mean, his mom was constantly, like, okay, this happened like 2 years ago. She was still sending us an email every now and then saying that, thank you guys, without you, this would never have happened to my son. So I think those success stories truly get us going and believing and advocating. If a business says that, oh, we're not sure if we can do this next year, I mean, we will definitely continue the promotion and work with the different business and work with utilizing our connections and resources, whether that's through DRS or through NCDET. The amazing person who leads this DRS projects, her name is Judy Golston, and Judy has been with her relationship with many of these businesses. Sometimes Project Search equal, Judy, and Judy manages these projects at NCDET, and she has amazing passion and success and relationship with many of these businesses to make it happen.
I met
Um,
with,
that,
uh, I met with Annie. I first heard about Project Search at the um, Transition Institute, and met with her, and we we discussed bringing that. I love the project. I love the idea, and we discussed bringing that to Poto. I would still love to, but it just wasn't the right timing. The partners that I had, they were into it, but didn't feel like it was the right time. So
Mhm,
maybe something we look back into again in a
mhm,
year or two. But I loved this project. I loved the presentation that was at the um, Transition Institute.
mhm.
We even met. I think you were in on that when we went to meet, and um, for whatever reason on our end it fell through, and but I really want to revisit this in about a year or so.
Yeah, so and sometimes there are challenges, especially as a first year. We've had businesses who would approach like, we wanna, be a model. Sometimes they've heard from another hospital, from another business. The way, Norman, I would tell you that Norman Public Schools, we've talked to them for a long time to get, Project Search started, and it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right team, it wasn't Norman Regional Hospital um, and Norman Public Schools. It never clicked until Embassy Suite in Norman came and said that, well, we were in Nebraska for a conference and we saw those Project Search individuals, interns working at Embassy Suite in Nebraska. And we wanna be the host business. If I'm like, we've never thought about having that conversation with them. We were so focused on Norman Regional. As soon as Embassy Suite started, Norman Regional eventually came on board. Now Norman Regional hosts the students from more public schools. So it's just been, like I said, I think one of the things for us, it's very important is that collaboration and being in the right place at the right time. Sometimes it's us who have a very limited vision. We've focused on one business and one business thinking it's the right one, looking at businesses that have multiple opportunities within their being a host business, what opportunities that they can provide to our students and collaborate together. The one thing with Project Search, sometimes some people think twice, is there a startup fee? And a lot of times businesses and public schools work together. Sometimes businesses give back to the community. So they will say that we'll absorb that, 16,000 startup fee. We don't take that money. It goes to National Project Search because they have to come and train everyone to do the right model. It's a model that's being replicated. So the fidelity of implementation, the curriculum, everything that is already provided and copyrighted, you will be handed those to replicate it as a school. But the good thing is that once you invest in it, and again, I think it was last July, I was at the National Conference for Project Search. In Oklahoma, we always shine at the national conference. We had programs that had 85% employment from their students. It's capped to, we like to keep the group small, 8 or 10 students max, but everyone is getting that hands-on experience. And we tell the students, as soon as you offer the job, you take the job. It's okay to quit the program, but the purpose of the program is to find you an employment opportunity and see what you like. And some of them think that they want to be a chef, they want to be a nurse, they want to be sanitize the hospital room. But when they start doing it, I don't like it as much. Well, how would you know you don't practice those things. So that's the good thing about it as well. So that leads me to our newest program that we actually started piloting it in January of 2019. Renee Sampson, myself, and Judy, we were at a conference, and this whole, we've heard about pre-employment transition services nationally, what other states are doing. When we came back within a month, Renee, asked NCDET if we would be interested looking into the details of pre-employment transition services. Judy doesn't miss an opportunity anytime there's a employment. Outcome is employment. Outcome is success to our students with disabilities. So we've sat together, we've talked, and before you know it, we got pilot funding to start. We didn't know how, and there was a lot of learning going on with that. But we went to University of Missouri and kind of learned from their model. We want to replicate as much as it, each state has differences when it comes to schools and fundings and the resources that we have. So we learned from the University of Missouri. Their education department came and tried to implement it in Oklahoma. So January 2019, pre-employment transition services was going to be piloted in Oklahoma. So first of all, what is pre-ETS? So pre-employment transition services, it's activities for high school students ages 14 and older. So we know IDEA, Individuals Disability Education Act, targets transition goals on students' individual education plan on their IEP. So there are transition goals as far as students preparing them to transition. But WIOA came in and said that, wait a second, let me help you, IDEA, in addressing the gap. Research shows that we're still low in employment rates for people with disabilities. I want to be able to come in and help you with the numbers. I want to be able to come in and help you with funding source. I want to be able to come in and provide more learning opportunities to students. So the age group that pre-ETS, since it's funded through WIOA, it's a federal fund that each state receives, and 15% of those funds have to be spent on preparing transition age students to employment and transition. So it focuses on 5 core areas. Job exploration. What do you want to do? I don't know. Okay, let's explore. Here are some options. Let's work on this together. Work-based learning, self-advocacy, post-secondary counseling, and all of these things that, students sometimes, we talk about advocacy. We advocate for them. That has to transition from us advocating for our teenagers or high schoolers to them becoming self-advocate. This is what I need to be successful in this. This is who I am. This is what I can do. So a lot of it focuses on working on those 5 core areas. We hired pre-employment transition specialists at the University of Oklahoma. They'll work for us. They'll be their home offices could be based on the geographic regions that they're serving in Oklahoma. So we have a pre-ETS specialist in Muskogee, we have a pre-ETS specialist in Enid, we have a pre-ETS specialist in Lawton, and on and on and on. And they will work with public schools, or the schools that we're working currently, and working with students, mainly high schools. We probably have only 1 middle school that is on board, because some of our kids who have disabilities and they're ages 14, they could be in middle school. So we want to actually get to that population as well. We work hand in hand with the teacher. We don't hand the teacher extra work. We have our pre-ETS specialists work one-on-one, small group, as long as the student has an outcome. The student wants to work when they graduate. If employment is their goal, we will help them achieve that goal from multiple areas. Sometimes it's repetition, sometimes it's the networking, sometimes it's the interview skills, sometimes it's the self-advocacy. So we will do career fairs, we will do interviews, we will go and teach them the skills that they need to get that job. From even if going to college is part of that employment, not everyone is going to graduate and get into a job. Not everyone is going to graduate and go to a 4-year university. Not everyone is going to, everyone's path is unique. So based on their unique desires or paths or the goals that they have, one way we describe it, we'll take their transition goals from their IEP and bring it to life. Okay, we have the goal, it's beautifully written, but let's start working on that. Even if it takes 3 years or 4 years, we're going to work on that. Even with the challenges that COVID presented, as of March 13th, many schools were shut down and many of our kids were not able to go to schools. Our pre-ed specialists worked with 1,200 students during that time, virtual, virtual. They spend so much time finding videos that is teaching employability skills, talking to parents, working on activities, making those activities interactive where they can, we got them the Zoom memberships, which is HIPAA compliant, FERPA compliant, where they can actually work with the students. But that's when I reached out to you, Cody, and it's like, because we have a person in Muskogee, she's working with salsa, she's working with GANS, she's working with the School of Blind and several schools there, but we want to, pre-ed program wants to serve the entire state of Oklahoma. One thing I've learned in the last year, I think both me and the pre-ed specialist and Judy, sometimes if we're just sending an email to the special ed director or the principal saying that, hey, we're with the University of Oklahoma and we are providing free services to your school, we're not always welcomed. You know how many emails you get. I know how many emails I get. If it doesn't look familiar, delete is the go-to button, So we had State Department of Education help us with this. Andrea Kunkel and her group, Telesped I presented, and OSDE joined forces with DRS. They do contribute in the funding right now, and they promote Lori Chestnut. All of them have been excellent source in promoting pre-employment transition services. We are in more than 125 high schools, the last I remember, and the list goes on and on and on. The way, and I can answer specific questions, I want to know what you're interested in specifically, because I can talk about our programs forever, but I want to make sure that I'm answering specifics. One question that we usually get, who can participate in this? Any public school that has students with disabilities, we don't come in and say, oh, you are, we don't decide the student's participation based on their disability. Like I said, if the student has an outcome goal as transitioning and finding employment, or even working toward employment goal, we will go in and help the student. So we are not working only with seniors, we are working with all high schoolers who have a disability. And where does it take place? It's like if the schools are going in person right now, we will go to the schools in person. If the schools are virtual, we will offer them virtual. Your specialist may change based on the option. Like, the schools, if a student is choosing a virtual option, they may have a different teacher. versus in person going into the classroom, they may end up with a different teacher. So we have pre-ed specialists who are focusing on the virtual more, and we have other pre-ed specialists who are going into the schools in person. Um, how do you request it? That's how do we get on board? And that's one thing that you and I can talk about, making sure that they reach out to us, and we'll immediately get them started. There's only collaborative agreement with the schools, because if we are sending a person um, physically to the school, we want to be liable for that person, and schools want to know that we are signing an agreement that anything happens to my employee, to my staff, we are, and the university is responsible for them. And that's one thing that the schools come in and say, okay, how do we get started? And when, if they sign that collaborative agreement quickly enough, then we're in. If they take months to get it done, we may start the services virtual until their Board of Education gets together and agrees that it's something that they want to utilize. And one other thing that I would emphasize, that our pre-ed specialists have been an amazing resource to the special ed teachers, or even sometimes to the regular ed teachers, just because they have amazing. This is what they do. They only focus on interview skills, job skills, and so on. So as I said, there's no extra paperwork that is being given to the teachers. They're going in person and saying, hey, you let me know what you're working on. I have a few days, I'll prepare and come back with this lesson. And I when I present, I say, I'm an educator, I'm a therapist. Can I teach my own children? Sometimes it's a challenge to teach your own children some skill. You bring in an outside therapist and they can sit with your child for 10 minutes and teach them the skill, and you're going crazy and say that, oh my gosh, I've been saying the same thing for weeks. You won't listen to me, but you listen to this therapist. And that's what sometimes students need. They want to see a different. As teachers, you're working in the same classroom, doing the same thing the same way, but fresh eyes, fresh strategy, a different person who's only paired, in my in my experience, is only paired for teaching me employability skills. Then they can take that from that person sooner than what you have tried 1,000 different methods and strategies and times to teach the individual that employability skill. So, well, again, it's an amazing success. We've had one teacher who actually, as much as she liked the program in her classroom, now she became a pre-ed specialist for us. The believing in the program, advocating for the program. It's all about networking and getting the right connections to these students. Again, with the current time, I know that we are facing some challenges, but if a student has transition goals and teachers are struggling to see I don't even know how we're going to work on these goals, our pre-ed specialists have amazing resources that they can help with that and get the work going, just on virtual basis too. So, questions, Min?
I think this is a great program. When you approached me with it, I think it's something we discussed this. Our transition services in Oklahoma, especially, but when you talk the rural areas where we live, are limited.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say limited. I won't say non-existent, because there are some things, but not much. And I love this idea, and I'm willing to work with any educators in this area that want to get in contact with you. Anything that we need to do to make this happen, because I've already sent you a short list, but I keep thinking of other people, and I keep wanting to make another. I just love this idea, because as you may or may not know, I've got a 15-year-old son who is, in 2.5 years, he's going to be out of
Mhm.
school, and then what?
Mhm.
You know, so I'm really very interested in this program, not just for him, but for all the area kids. I mean, that's what our main focus is. What can we do? I think sometimes too we focus so much on early intervention, which is necessary, and we focus on school, but we forget about those transition and what's going to happen, because all these kids with disabilities now are going to be adults with disabilities later. You've heard that a million times, I know, but it's so true, and we don't think about what's going to
Mhm.
happen. This we think, I guess, they just magically are going to know how to live in
Mhm.
the world. So
Mhm.
I love this idea, and I'm on board at whatever I can
Mhm.
do to help. So.
So yesterday we had staff meeting with our pre-ed specialist, and I kind of brought this up, and they're all, we're the amazing thing, Cody, we're all extremely excited about what we do. I think when we piloted it, when we first were going to start, not knowing what you're getting into was definitely the fear of unknown. Is it going to be well taken, or are we going to experience success, and on and on. When we piloted, and then boom, we have seen amazing success with those students. The pilot year, we only focused on seniors because we felt like we have limited time, and those seniors are going to graduate, and we don't want them to graduate without having the juniors had time. They had another year to learn those skills, but the seniors were getting ready to get out of the door. So we focused on seniors. In March, when the pandemic happened, that's what we did as well. We focused on the seniors. Many parents were confused. Many parents were like, okay, my child is graduating in 8 weeks or 9 weeks. They have not, they are missing out on the opportunity. So uh, we have tried to reach those that age group the most, but with the continuity, if we were serving a junior or a sophomore, or a junior and a senior, we are seeing amazing growth in that student, and we have our systems. We keep track. If one specialist leaves, another specialist comes in, they're not going to go back and reteach what that individual has learned already. So we have purchased them online forums, where the online curriculum where they can use it for their virtual teaching. They have actual forums, but I mean, like anyone else, if you ask a person, what do you want to do? And the answer is, I don't know. We're going to work on this. So how can we identify the students' interests and needs? What do you need? If you're interested to become so-and-so, if you're interested to become a welder, what tools do you need? What skills do you need to do that? And do you know what it is? And that's another thing that our specialists have come to a conclusion that, a lot of the students said they wanted to be this or that when they graduate, but they had no idea what it was, it entails, what does it look like as far as application. Yeah, I wanted to be the princess. Well, what does it take to be a princess, let's say? There are definitely steps to work towards that. If it's an unachievable goal, help them make realistic goals, career goals, because then the growth can happen. And options, sometimes they're all limited. They only think about one job. In the autism community, everybody wants to be a computer designer or a software, and this and that. Okay, well, we can't have everyone. Is that really what you want to do? So that exploration helped our students figure things out as well. So to move on forward, I think you send me a short list. I can pick up the phone and call each one of them and set up a visit, or we can have a regional, presentation just to the schools, whatever it takes. We can just have a pre-eds presentation. They don't, and how does it benefit the school? How does it benefit the students? And what exactly we can offer, and when can we start, and how do we start? And I say how because right now the option could be virtual or in person. So
Well, and so here is where I say to anybody that's watching that's interested, please contact me, and we can get this set up. I can get in contact with Annie, and we can work this out. But I think it's a great program. So um, I'm almost out of time here. Let me ask a couple more questions
mhm.
of you before we close this out. Tell me a little bit about how you kind of got started in all of this in disability world, if you will. So,
Mhm. Well, wow, that's I'll keep it short, I promise. Uh, I was a classroom teacher. My background is elementary ed and teaching English as a second language, as most of you will catch on the accent. I wasn't born and raised here. I grew up in Middle East in Lebanon, and I went to school to teach English as a second language. But then working with my students and realizing that, oh, not every learner is the same. So I was very passionate, just became very interested in different learners. Why are they different? They're not failing just because they're lazy. They're failing because our instructional strategies are not necessarily reaching out to their needs. So I met a lady who had just graduated from US and returned back to Lebanon to teach, and she talked to me about special education. I'm like, there's a thing like that. So it caught me by surprise. So I got some books from her, and it just sparked my interest in special education. So I'm so grateful for my students who actually, because my love to teaching and wanted to see them successful, got me into exploring different instructional strategies. So I ended up in Oklahoma, came to University of Oklahoma as an international student, wanted to get my master's in special education. And since then, 17 years from then to now, I'm still here. My very first class was in ABA, so it got me interested into the ABA stuff in autism and become a board certified behavior analyst. I like you said, Cody, at one point in the interview, focused. I was focused on early intervention as well, and I love early intervention. I have years of experience in early intervention, but then with this position, I got to learn and come to realization that transition age and the employability skills, all those little bitty ones that I've worked 10 years ago, now they're in high school and they're getting ready to graduate. What's for them? So we do this with our heart, with passion, with love, and truly I'm grateful for all the advocates around us, because if especially parents who make that difference. And that's another reason why I reached out to you, because several of the schools who told us that we can't go in and provide pre-employment transition services, parents took up and said, this is the program I'm talking about. My son needs this. My daughter needs this. Why can't they come? Oh, they were the key for us to get into the school. So that's why collaboration is power, communication, and hand in hand. That's one reason, again, like I reached out to you, because you are the key person in that area. You're a parent, the key people who would get us, because at the end those people in those positions can leave, but the impact that we will have on the students and the outcome for making the lives and the perspective of individuals with disabilities is going to be long-term outcome.
I'm going to finish up with this. Tell me some of the best advice you've ever received. when working with families with disabilities, and then tell me maybe advice that you give to families. What is it that you just kind of try to instill in them?
The best advice from the families, I think, um, understanding, being a good listener to the family and understanding their perspective. I will never walk into a family's house or pour my advice to the family, not putting myself in place of the family. And I cannot be that family. I don't live their day-to-day experiences. So the only way I can relate to that family is by listening to them and saying, no, well, you're wrong, or you have so high expectation, or you have low expectation. We gotta find a common ground to connect and have that amazing connection with the family. Otherwise, I'll be talking about my expertise and the family may be complaining about day to day. And if I don't stop and listen and connect, we're not going to find success at all. So I learned from my families that I work with, just be quiet, listen to them, and then, okay, well, I see where you're coming. Let me help you get there, because what's important to them may not be important to me at that point.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's all I've got. So I want to first of all say thank you. I know you're a very busy woman. You've got several projects that you work on, and you are a tremendous asset to um, parents, especially, but to everyone here in Oklahoma. And I want to thank you for that, and just thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I always learn something when I talk to you. It seems like, and so thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Cody. Thank you. I will.